Let's give praise to the Most High. I'd like to thank everyone today. Shabbat Shalom to you, those of you who are watching live by stream on YouTube, or those of you who are here with us today on Zoom. All praise be given to our Elohim, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Hallelujah. Praise be to Yahweh. Let's pray. Yahweh, we thank you. We thank you for being our Elohim. We're amazed at all that you have done for us and how you've been very merciful to us. And we thank you. We ask that you open up our understanding today, open our eyes so we can see the wonderful things that are found in your Torah. We thank you for this in particular day, the Yom Shabbat Yahweh. It is the day that you have set apart for your people. It is a sign, it's a designation, it is a mark upon us that we are obedient to your laws, your statutes, and your commandments, and that we do have a mind and a heart to seek after you. All praise be given unto you. Hallelujah. 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 Praise be
Hallelujah.
Yahweh. All right. Hey, listen, this is a uh a new portion of the Torah that we're in. This is called the book of Varim. The Varim, which they would known as the words. It is the last scroll within the what they would call the Old Testament. It's the last scroll. Okay. And it's very unique in its presentation because literally the book of Deuteronomy, or what they would call Davarim, is the last message that Moshe is telling the children of Israel. And all of Davarim or Deuteronomy, okay, all of everything that is spoken is only happen in one day. It's only going to be one day. It's his last message before they pass on to their destination, which is going crossing over the Yarden River, the Jordan River. Okay. And so let's go ahead and get in our study. Have a pen and paper, write down your notes, and I'll be able to answer your questions as well when we get into. Oh, wow. What happened? Oh, for some reason or another, it didn't show up. Let's see. Uh, hmm, Google Slides. Presentation disappeared. Hmm. Okay. Hopefully it didn't erase it. Oh, it did not. All right, good, good, good. All right, we're safe. We're safe, everyone. Because I was gonna have to go ad lib. I was gonna have to go, freestyle, but I'm not gonna be able to do freestyle. I think presentations are important. It conveys the message a lot clearer. Let me see here. Let me show it to you. So we do have it. All praise. Okay, cool. Get my face off the screen. Shut the video down off of me. Here you go. And can you see the presentation? Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so we covered several chapters 1, 2, and 3. However, I'm listing this weekly review out in three different phases. Okay, the first phase is going to be dealing with what they would call the words, right? And then the second is going to be the prophet, and the third we're going to deal with the psalmist. So these are the three different areas in which you would call the Tanakh. So which is the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms, which are the writings, the Ketuvim. So within each one of these areas, we're going to look at some different ideas because we can't cover everything that's found in our study, chapters 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to take a little piece like I do every week and try to expound upon it, right? We're going to expound upon it, right? So the first part is when we're thinking about um, wow, I guess I got rid of that. Hold on. Something's not correct. This is not correct. Man, it's not good today. What's going on? Huh? It's not behaving. Let's see. Let's see. All right, here you go. This should be better. All right, there you go. All right. So the opening words to this part of our Torah portion, the first of this book, Varim, begins with these words. These are the words that Moshe spoke to all Israel on the far side of the Yarden River in the desert in the Arava across from Suf, between Paran and Tophel and Lebanon, Katzaroth and Dizahav. That doesn't mean anything to us because we don't have that experience and we don't know exactly where this location is. What we do know is that it's in a place that the Most High decided to use to be able to speak to the children of Israel. The word Davarim is the first words that are spoken within this text, right? So these words mean the Davarim. And this is the reason why the book of Deuteronomy is called Davarim. Deuteronomy means the second law. Okay, it's a Greek word that they put in there, but it's not Deuteronomy. The name of the book or the scroll is not Deuteronomy, it's Davarim, the words. So as you can look, I have a picture of some bees and some honey because bees have to do with Davarim. They have to do with Davarim. They have to do with the word Devorah, which you get the word bee. And a bee, and you can see in the honeycomb there is more or less like a design or a pattern. It has to do with organization. So it's very, just like a bee colony is very organized. The Most High wanted to bring the children of Israel out to the wilderness in order to speak to them and to set them in order. So all the words that the Most High has spoken and has given to them is for the purpose of organizing them and speaking to them to help them direct their lives as if it's a bee colony, right? And instead of there being a queen, there's a king who's ruling over the people. But it has to do with their responsibilities and their duties and what the expectations are. And so if the colony is disturbed by something that's disorder, then things are not going to function well. So Davarim, this in particular book or scroll, is dealing with organization and is dealing with how to set things in its proper order. Okay, and so it's the arrangement of things, and this is found in chapter number 1. Okay. Now, the word that really stuck out to me this week was this idea that was mentioned in Deuteronomy chapter number 1, right? Davarim Akkad. It says, but you would not go up, and instead you rebelled against the order of Yahweh your Elohim. I have it written in Hebrew, and the reason why I have it there is just as a reminder to me about the points that I want to focus on. Okay, there are some words in here that you and I are going to have to we're gonna have to deal with, and we're gonna have to look at, and that's the best part about this language because in English it really doesn't give you the fulfillment of what the whole intention is about saying what is being said, what's being spoken. So these words right here are very important, right? It says Walo the avitim the la alo to wad tamaru the etapi Yahweh Elohim. And what that means is that, of course, that you it says that you would not go up, but that's not is what it's saying inside of the Hebrew. This word right here is the word that we're going to deal with. We're going to focus our attention on this word avitim. Now, if you can hear me say, I'll say it slower. Avitim. So Avi is literally in Hebrew, my father. Okay. And I'm going to break that down in a second. So when you look at this, it says, but you would not go up. That means that you refuse to alot. That means to go up into ascend. You refuse to ascend. And what this is talking about in context is about the opportunity that the Most High made available to them about inheriting what he had promised their fathers. They were not willing to go up. And so there's a reason why they were not willing to go up. And it's not just because they weren't willing. it had to do with something that was inside of them. It had to do with something that we're going to discuss today about this word avitim. Okay. And then it said, before we leave this in particular slide, it says that you rebelled against the Most High. That's right here, the Tamiru, right? And we're going to deal with Tamiru today. And of course, the Fi of Yahweh, or the P of Yahweh, is the mouth of Yahweh, which means the order of Yahweh. So everything that the Most High has said, which is Varim, the words that he's saying to them, he's reminding them what they have done in the past. And the reason why it's good for us is because the past pretty much tells you, it gives you a sense of navigation to find out, well, what can we do to change things, right? What is it that, where are our failings? So in the book of Deuteronomy, in the first chapters 1, 2, and 3, it's about their failings, but it's also too about their successes. But I'm not going to deal with any of the successes today, right? We'll deal with that a little bit later. The most important thing that we want to deal with is what are the words that the Most High said, right? And one of the words that he said to them is that, lo, the avitim, you were not willing, right? You would not go up, okay? You would not. So let's deal with that, because that is going to help us understand what we need to do to change this, because we can change it, okay? The avitim, its root word has to do with the word that you see above called ava, okay? It's called ava right here. Ah, ba, ava. It means desire. So when he was telling them that you would not go up, Tim, that Tim is you, plurality, he was saying that you would not, you didn't have a desire. Okay. The part of Avi here is the word Av, and Av has to do with father in Hebrew, which is the strength of the house. Okay. So what it's saying is that the Most High has given us a command from his mouth to fulfill his desire, right? And this is telling us that if your desires are not lined up with his desires, then we're going to have a problem. His desires is that they would go up. And so he uses the word avitem or abba, right? It's just conjugated avitem, but it's really ava, to say the desire, your desire was not to go up. Okay. So what does it mean about desire? Well, this is an abstract term. It could be, defined on, how we look at it from a Western standpoint, talking about something that we want to obtain for ourselves, or something that gives us pleasure, or something makes us feel a certain way. Hebraically, what is really dealing with is our will. Okay. It's dealing with our will. That's what desire means in Hebrew. It's your will, right? And so, in order to have your desire lined up with the Most High's desire, I have these ideas here. There are 6 of them that I want to just kind of touch base on a little bit. Number one is the idea of capitulate. Okay. I know it seems like a big word. We don't hear too much, but capitulation is dealing with the fact that the individual who has to be around the Most High has to literally cease from resisting his will. Capitulate. That means that you and I are going to cease from resisting whatever it is that Yahweh is demanding of us. And this has been the problem for our people, more specifically, our men. Our men are the problem. Okay? I'm going to say it. I know often you hear me talk about what the woman's responsibility is and what she's supposed to be doing, right? And of course, her desire too is going to be included, because she has a desire, but her desires have to line up with what her husband wants. The children of Israel is a wife to the Most High. And so, even as a daughter or an individual, we have to capitulate. And this has been a problem for us, because we have some resistance and some reluctancy to doing what he says. Okay. The second idea that we have here is literally the cause. And what I mean by cause is a cause to make something happen. The desire that we're mentioning here is about what Yah wants. And I just want to be clear, it's not what your desire is per se. Okay. We have to align our desire up with his desire. And the only way that we can do that is by capitulation and for us to take action. There's someone who wants to get in. There you go. Okay. So the cause means we have to make it something happen. It's a cause to action. It's a rise. We have to rise to the point where you and I are willing to do what he's asking us to do. So fulfilling the Most High's desire and having it lined up with him means that you and I are going to have to capitulate and we're going to have to take some form of action. Okay. The other idea of allowance means that we're going to have to allow, okay, so capitulation is cease and resist, causes to rise to action. Allowance for us is the idea of giving. We're going to have to allow ourselves to give over to Yah, okay? So it's not just cease to resist and just that's it, you know, it's also to not only take an action, but also to allow to give. We're going to have to be willing to give whatever it takes in order to fulfill Yahweh's desire. And that's been the problem. Yah's desire is for us to rule as his people on the face of this earth and teach the nations on how to live. Yah's desire is that we would bring glory to his name. That's what his desire is. Okay. Acceptance. Okay. What it is here is we have to be able to accept whatever the desire of Yah is. Okay. It's not just give, it's acceptance. It's accepting of what he said, right? So when they were not willing to go up, and Moshe's reminding them in your Torah portion this week that it wasn't that they just wouldn't go up. These are all the ideas that were surrounded. They weren't willing to take the action. They weren't willing to capitulate, even though they were fearful. They did not affirm Yah's words. They did not try to bring about the desire of Yah. And that's where we get this idea of achievement. Okay. So the affirmative is giving the affirmation and say, you know what, I'm in agreement with it. And so when we're not in agreement with Yah, things are not going to work out for us. They're not going to work out for us. So that's a big part of what Moshe was bringing to their attention. Now I have the word here, and here's the Hebraic, you know, the Hebrew fundamentals of the language, right? So we have the three letters up top for you, reading from right to left, just to kind of keep you up on it, not left to right. So it's right to left. So it's going to begin on the left, on the right-hand side. So your brain is going to have to make some adjustments. Here's the first letter of that word, Ava, okay? And here's the second letter, okay? And here's the third letter, okay? And underneath each one of these letters, we have a brief description of what they represent, okay? So as we know, those who've been in my class, the Hebrew Aleph represents the domesticated animal, right? Which is the ox, which represents power, strength, and might. What is the power? Why do they need power? They need power to do the work. So when you talk about desire, right, is the power to do the work. Remember, in your Haftarah, it says an ox knows his owner and a donkey knows his stall, but my people don't know. They don't reflect. So the ox knows his owner. It knows the one that purchased it. It knows it because it becomes underneath its authority and it's become familiar with its owner. Its owner is demanding things from it. The owner is looking for its power. The Most High looks at the children of Israel as a nation that's supposed to be represented like an ox. This is the reason why a lot of the offerings had to be made up from an ox. The bulk of them, the olah, which is the ascending offering, supposed to have been in the ox. There's a whole bunch of other ones that have to do with an ox. You know, when dealing with the nation and they sinned against the Most High, they have to bring an ox. It was the high priest. He had to bring an ox. Okay. So the power is there to bring about the work. The ox is going to be used for the work. The strength there is to be able to pull, right? The strength to bear and to pull. The bearing means the yoke, because when you have an ox, you put a yoke on the ox, which is a lamed. Okay. This is where you get your word El from, right? And letters right underneath it, El. And El, I wrote it right to left, but here's left to right. El means power, strength. So when you hear Yah or El or Elohim, it's literally talking about the strong authority, the strong power of the staff, the strong power of the yoke. The younger ox is attached to the older ox, and then it trains it and it shows it to prepare it in order to do the work it needs. The might is to bear the load. So this is what the Most High is looking for in this idea of Ava. That's the reason why the letter is there. The next letter, the bet, is the which represents a nomadic tent, which represents the family. Okay, the family is going to be the foundation, right? It's the foundation of the family. The bet is right. The tent. It's the foundation. It's where everything happens. It's where everything is learned. It's where everything begins. It's the strength of and the stability and the protection for the family. Okay. That's found in that letter. Unlike the letter B in English means absolutely nothing. Okay. So when we saw in our little photo that I showed you about the bees with the honeycomb, when you look at a bee, you should know that has to do with order. It has to do with structure. So the Most High again is teaching us through his creation what his expectation is. But of course, they took that away from us. So we don't know what this stuff means. That's why it's foreign to us. Okay. The last letter, the Hebrew letter Hey, represents a man standing with raised hands, meaning to behold a great sight. So what is this man doing? This man is lifted with his hands up. I'll draw a little picture right here. Here's a man. He has his hands up. This is what it looks like in ancient Hebrew. This is what you would see on a stone or a rock. You would see this. That's a man with his hands lifted up. Okay. And if I was to just break it down, you could see in the letter H right here. Okay. They just take the elements of it. You see how the bottom part right here? I'll just put it right here. The bottom part of the H they took, and then they added at the top, the arms. You see? That's what they did. Here's the bottom part right here. And then they took the other part, the arms right here. And all they did was they removed the man part. They removed him from it. See? So over time, what has happened with the language is we used to have pictures that represent letters. And so they said, well, let's take that picture and then we'll take out of that picture, we'll take the arms and we'll take the legs right here. And then we'll create the arms right here and then we'll use the same line and then we'll put the legs right here. But we don't have any man in the middle of it. We won't do that anymore. Okay. So that's how you get the letter H. And in Hebrew, as you can see up top, the Hebrew letter came before the English letter. Okay, the English letter is based off of the Greek letter. The Greek letter is based off of the Hebrew letter. The Hebrew letter is right here that you can see right here at the top. This is what they did. Line here and a line here. So you got the still two lines, but you got one up top that goes like that. Okay. So it's all connected. So what this means is that this man is standing here with his hands raised and he's looking and he's bringing recognition to a great sight, something that's greater than himself. He has an awareness around his surroundings and he's in awe of what he sees. So anytime the hands were raised and the eyes were looking out, they were looking up at the stars and they were looking up at the moon and they were looking at the planets. They were looking at all these things. You understand? So their direction is on a great sight. You know, my wife and I, we get up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and we go walking every morning. And what we've seen over the last few weeks is how the stars are lined up. And we also have seen the moon. And yesterday we tried to see the new moon. I mean, the moon, and it wasn't there. The day before it was there. The next day it was gone. The stars were lined up a little bit differently. Some were brighter than others. And it was a great sight. And it brought an awareness to us. And we were in awe. We were struck by awe. So what happens with us as a people, they have taken away this idea of awareness and awe away from us. Therefore, you won't give any recognition. you won't give any recognition. You won't be able to raise your hands in praise and awareness about who you're dealing with. You see? So we haven't been given this. This has been taken away from us and it's actually been hidden from us. So these are ideas that are found in the word Abba. Okay. Sounds just like father, Abba, but this is Ava, Ava versus Abba. Okay. So, but it's connected. The father's connected to this. Okay. So these are the ideas that go around with Ava. This is what it is about desire. So as you can see, even though it's an abstract term, there's a lot that goes a lot into it. Okay. And we're learning. Okay. Now, what is it that you and I should be desiring, and how do we achieve this? Okay. I have some different ideas up here. One about dig, deep, and then prepare and plant. Okay. So dig deep, prepare, plant. You can write this down. This is what desire is. Okay. So let's deal with this idea of Ava. Okay. So Ava is the idea of planning. When I talk about digging, digging is, what's required in order to find out what's beneath the surface. Okay. And so when we're talking about this, the Most High is saying if you have a desire, you have a desire to dig and you want to find something out, right? You don't want to be ignorant. You don't want to be foolish. You don't want to be stupid. You don't want to be naive. You don't want to be lost in the sauce. You don't want to be a simpleton. Okay. You're going to have to do some planning and you're going to have to do some scheduling and, of course, take everything into consideration. There were other words that I had up here before, but it just, I kept it on an agricultural level, but I also want to bring it to a point where we can fully understand it today, right? So what he's talking about in his planning is to understand that what do I want to do? If I want to dig, where am I going to dig? And what am I going to, you don't know what you're going to get. You just know that you have to do this. So you have to get the proper tools. You have to find the time to do it. You have to schedule it, right? We're just keeping this very, basic, right? And common sense. And also too, you have to take into consideration about what it is, what's the environment like, expect and know that there are going to be some difficulties. That's what I mean by considerations. So anytime, agriculturally you dig for something, you're going to need a shovel and you're going to need a shovel, not a small one, depending on how big of a hole you want, right? If you want to go deep, you're going to have to use something with a little bit more leverage. There's all different types of shovels to do that. If you don't want to have a shovel, then you might want to get something to drill. You want to drill a hole in the ground, whatever, which way you need to do, the tools that you need to use in order to get where you want to go. And how deep do you really want to go? That's the next question. How deep is it that you really want to go when you're doing this digging, right? Of course, the soil could be very difficult, be hard. You could run into some rocks and some things that you just can't get past. And have you planned for that? Okay. The deepness that we're talking about is the purpose of going deep, which remember this has to do with the desire, is to find a way to, discover. You're on a tour. You're literally trying to find some things out, right? And the things that you're going to go find out are the things that are hidden, the things that are not seen, right? And we have to do this in our lives. We have to do this in our mind, and we have to go beneath the surface. And that takes a lot of work, right? But the things that are hidden, I want you to know that you're going to find some things that you don't like, right? I'm just being realistic. But the things that you don't like can also be your treasures. Now, hear what I'm about to tell you. Okay, so say you're digging a hole, you planned it, you're scheduling, you're taking every opportunity to do it in a timely fashion. It's on the schedule, you're being consistent, and you said, okay, well, I'm in a mode of discovery. Okay, and what I'm looking for are the things that are hidden. Generally, when people are looking for something and they're given that kind of time, they're looking for treasures. Okay, the things that you find along the way, right, that you may consider to be bad may be able to be good. Some things that you dig up might it's going to like going in your past. You're going to find things about yourself that you're not really happy with, but those are your treasures. You're supposed to take those things and you don't supposed to throw them away. You actually supposed to treasure them because those are the things that are going to help you understand about where you are in your life and why you are where you are in your life. It's because of the things that you have done in the past. Okay. You want those things. It's not only the good things that you're looking for as your treasures, the bad things, the things that are not so good can be treasures to you as well. They're reminders. Okay. And so this is what Moshe was doing. Okay. Trying to keep it all in perspective. Moshe was doing this with the children of Israel by bringing up their past. And yes, sometimes it could be painful. And yes, sometimes it's embarrassing. And yes, sometimes it was foolish and it didn't make sense. Yes, we've made some mistakes. But those things that we've made, the mistakes that we've made can actually help you and they can be beneficial to you. Those are your treasures because you can use them as points of reference about, and you can also use them for other people. The mistakes you've made can be helpful to someone else later on. After you grow and you develop and you become more mature and you see the error of your ways, you can then help others to understand it. And this is the reason why the Most High has done what He's done to us. This is the reason why we're on our journey. This is the reason why right now you and I are the ones who are doing the digging. There's other people who have not did any planning. They don't want to know what it is. They don't want to take the time out. There's no even reason for consideration. They haven't even taken the first step. You understand? So we have to go deep, right? The second part of this is dealing with, or the third part, excuse me, is dealing with preparation. Okay. Because that's what it is. Because when you're digging deep, right, you have to be prepared. You got to be prepared for what you find. You got to be prepared to do something with that hole that you just dug, right? A lot of times when you're digging, when they dug in the ancient Israelite Hebrew culture, what they were doing were digging for water. They were trying to find something. They were trying to find a treasure. They were trying to find either gold or they were trying to find silver. The things that are valuable, right? Even like I said, the bad things, even iron is valuable. That could be used. Iron wasn't just laying on top of the surface. Copper was not just on top of the surface. The Most High said these are things that are found in the mountains and in the hills that they would have to go and dig, and they have to dig deep to find it. If you really are looking for something, you're going to have to prepare yourself for that, right? And so that means that once you prepare, just as these are ideas to go around preparation, is once it's done and it's prepared, then you have a foundation, right? And then, of course, the foundation can be used as stability and, of course, structure. That's what we're looking for. So preparation is going to allow you to be able to do the things that you want. Once you get to the certain level that you want, then you can lay your foundation, bring your structure, bring your stability, and then you would understand what it is. Because even when you're digging anything, and this is from an agricultural standpoint, this is from an architectural standpoint, when I used to read plans and whatnot, the first thing that we would look at is, well, how deep do we need to go to plant something, or how deep do we need to go in order to build our structure, in order for it to be stable? Some things had to go real deep, like when you're putting post a fence inside of the ground, it has to go like 6 feet down or 3 feet, depending on what the measurement of the actual wood is. If you're talking about, putting up a 100-story building, you're going to have to go down several hundred feet in order to have that foundation, like they have in San Francisco. Those things are not just on the surface, they're deep. They have core pillars that are drilled all the way down. Okay. And if that's not done properly, and you can look this up. There's a building in San Francisco that what they did was they didn't dig deep enough for the foundation. Now the building is tilting. And every year when the soil starts to shift, the building is going out of place and it could fall, right? And so every year is moving inch by inch by inch. And what they've been doing is spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to try to make sure that that building doesn't fall, right? And so what happened? Well, obviously someone didn't dig deep enough. They didn't go deep enough. And therefore, now that you didn't go deep enough, the foundation is compromised, which then it would actually cost you more money, more time, and more everything because you really didn't look at the considerations, right? So we take those ideas and we understand that and apply it to what it is that we need to do individually in order for us to achieve what Yahweh is desiring and what He's looking for. Okay. So there's work that needs to be done in our lives, right? And of course, the bottom line is to plant, right? So after everything we've done, He says, okay, you've done the digging, you've gone deep enough, and now everything's prepared. Now we're ready to plant. Okay. Here I have three ideas that I want you to think about. Number one is the value system, right? Because whatever foundation that you have, remember I said that Ava has to do with the Father, it's the first two letters of the word. a aleph and a bet. That has to do with the foundation, which is the family, right? So when we're thinking about Yah, what we're thinking about is passing on the value system to our children that we're commanded to do. You're to teach your sons and your daughters and your children's and your children's children, right, down to the third and fourth generation, so they can be passed on. The value system, right? You're passing on traditions and some customs, okay, that are not outside of the Torah, but they work within the Torah. So there's different traditions and customs that even families themselves, even the tribe of Judah had different traditions and customs than the families of the Asher or the Gadi or the Reuven and his family. So every family can have their own traditions and customs, but they can work within the Torah. There's no violation against the Torah when people have their traditions. For example, I don't have a slide, but it talks about a family that the father told his sons that you are never to drink any wine and you're never to go live in a city. You're always supposed to live in a tent. That's what our family does. This is what we're going to do. The Most High turns and brings that family to Jeremiah. Jeremiah brings them in a room and offers them wine, and they decline the wine. And he asked them, "Why did you decline the wine?" He said, "Because our fathers have told us that this is what we do." And because they did that, the Most High said, "Because you have done this and you honored your fathers, you'll always have men or someone to stand before me. Your family will always be able to stand before me." Why? Because you get it. And you understand that even the traditions of the fathers in your family have to be kept because your father gave it to you. You understand? It's not only your father can give you the Torah and your mother, okay, because the father and mother are one, they're on the same frequency, okay? They are passing on these traditions and customs. If your family, goes to Hawaii once a year, then that's a custom tradition. You should be able to do that. You could do that within the framework of the Torah. So let's not be religious. Let's go back, find out some traditions and some customs that you want to keep for your family. You know, if every I told the woman that my son married, of course, he married a woman who was not of the Torah, and of course he turned his back on the Most High. But I did tell her what my customs and my traditions are. You know, and I asked her if she would support that, and she said, "Yeah, I'll do it." I told her never to cut any. If you have any sons, you never cut their hair, ever. You never cut their hair. And she promised me that she would do it, but would she keep it? Who knows? I'm just bringing it out. Any of my sons and any of my grandchildren, if that's my custom, my tradition, that's what I want, then this is what it's going to be. And it's going to be enforced. Okay. And if they go outside of it, then of course I'm not going to value them when it comes time for me to pass on what I need to pass on because they did not value my traditions and my customs. Okay. There are also the idea of not that which is just tangible, but the intangibles as well need to be passed on. So when we talk about the tangibles, I'm saying the different items like houses and different gold and jewelry and all these different types of things. Those things are going to be passed on, but also the intangibles is what we would call our belief system, what we call, our core values about who we are as a people. It can also be the intangibles of, the way that we think, our moral compass. There's just different things that we do. It's the way that we sit, it's the way that we talk, it's the way that we respond. The Most High leaves that to us. We're not just little soldiers just walking around that can't have any expression of self. And that's the reason why I mention these things here, because the Most High just wants us to do the work. And the things that we plant, it's literally up to us. When we had our fields in agriculture, the family, whatever that family enjoyed, they wouldn't plant the radishes that they didn't like to eat. They would plant what they wanted. But when they did it, they had to do it well. And that's generally what I'm trying to bring out here. And that because that's what you desire. You plant what you desire, right? So this is what desire has to do with. You have to have a desire to want to do the work. You have to have a desire to want to seek out things that have not been known to you. You have to have a desire. Okay. And you have to have that Abba. I said I thought men cutting their hair was only ceremonial. No, that's not true. That's not true. We have to look at that. That's not true. So I told you the Hebrew fundamentals of the letter. Okay. Now I want to explain to you, dealing with the same subject about Ava. The letters are still the same, the Aleph, the Bet, and the Hey. Okay. The Aleph in the Hebrew language is represented by the number one. Okay. So this is the reason why I have here the first mention. Okay. The first mention is supposed to bring two concepts together to get you to understand, the fundamental or the foundational meaning of the subject or whatever is being discussed. So the first time that the word Ava is ever mentioned is in Genesis chapter number 24. Okay. And it has to do with the idea of of Abraham sending his servant to find a wife for his son. And he swore a covenant to him. He said, "Hey, listen, what if this woman, is not willing? He told me if the woman's willing to come, then, let her come. But if she's not willing," he says, suppose a woman isn't willing. Suppose that she is an Ava, okay? Because you could be a low Ava. You could be absolutely never to be willing, never to have a desire, never have a willingness to plan, never willing to bring about what was desired of, whoever's seeking something from you. Remember all the ideas. I don't want us to get lost in this. I want us to understand this. So when it talks, I'm going to come back here. When it talks about this willingness of this woman, keep these ideas. Same stuff. Same identical thing, same thing. Okay. So when we're talking about this willingness, is digging, is she willing to do the work? How deep is she willing to go? Right? Is she willing to do the work? Is she willing to follow me? Okay. The willingness there is the Ava. Is she willing to plant? Does she have a desire to do this? Right? So the idea that we're supposed to get from this is you can't make someone do something that they don't want to do. You can't. And Abraham, the servant, was concerned with this. This was a big deal. This is the first time. So this is the foundational meaning of it, right? But there's also a conceptual understanding I want us to get. I want us to understand the concept because you can't understand it just on one verse. It has to be complemented with another verse, right? Here's the other verse. Okay. So this one says, but if the woman is unwilling to follow you, then you're released from the obligation under my oath. Just don't bring my son back there. Okay. So the idea of Ava is found, the conceptual understanding. Okay. How do we grasp it and understand its fundamental meaning? Is looking at this idea of being released. Okay. Unwillingness. Okay. So the idea to follow means that they're willing to do something, right? Right? That's the lalaket. If she's willing to follow, that means willing to follow me. But in Hebrew, follow means to walk or to live. Okay. So what we find here is that if the woman is unwilling to follow you, right, that you can see right here, because that's what he's looking for, a desire to follow, then you're released from the obligation. You're released from this. Okay. So what is the conceptual understanding? The understanding is this. Willingness means that you have a complete desire to do everything that was asked of you. If someone is not able to do that, if she's not willing to do that, he says, then you're released from your obligation. So how is this supposed to make sense to us? Follow, release from obligation. If you and I don't have a desire to dig deep, prepare, and plant, okay? Because those are all the concepts that go along this idea of willingness or unwillingness. So you see here, unwilling versus willing is still the same word. The un right here is just the idea of low. That means absolutely never, okay? That's what that word would be right there. So they're combining the whole word together to make you think it's a whole nother word. It's not. It's the same word. Okay. One has a negative on it and one is a positive. So the positive is to follow. The negative is the saying that you're not going to follow. Okay. It's the opposite is balance. Okay. So there's some balance here. The balance is either you can do the desire or you'll be released from the obligation. Because if she would accept it, that means that she's taken upon an obligation. just like he took it. He was willing to go on behalf of his master. He was being sent in order to bring about what his master wanted. So now you and I, we have accepted. We said that we were willing to do what Yah said. And because you said that we're willing, right, we're under an obligation. The moment that you and I take on the obligation, when you decide after you've taken the obligation and say, I don't want to do it now, I'm not going to fulfill my obligation, you're not going to be released. I want you to understand something. I'm going to slow down and I'm going to bring it out to you one more time. Before you accept an offer, right, an obligation, there has to be this ava, there has to be a willingness to do it. Okay. If she said, yes, I'm going to do it, she obligated herself to it. So now she's in it. So the only time that a person is not obligated to something, okay, obligation, is if they never take it. If she's unwilling, that means lo ava. She decided not to do it. So what this means for us is something different. It means that since you and I have taken the obligation on, we don't get a chance to be released from it because we've accepted it. Remember, we saw early in our slides, it said acceptance. That's desire. If your desire is to accept whatever it is that the master or your husband or the father desires of us, and we say yes, then because we've done that, the Most High says you're under your obligation, like you will find in Ezekiel chapter number 20. He said, I'm going to bring you into the obligation of the covenant. Do you understand? So in this situation here is letting us know that the only way that he would have ever been released. You, servant, are released, not her. She said no, so she's not locked in, but you are locked in because you had an obligation to do what I said, because you were willing to go on my behalf. And now that you took that on, if the person says they're unwilling, then you're good. You get free. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that out, but also too, there's a divine wisdom that needs to be understood because the other time that it's mentioned. So both of these are what they would call in the Torah. The last part where it's mentioned, one of the last places it's mentioned is in the book of Leviticus. And in chapter number 26, it talks about, he says, yes, if you go against me, okay, that going against right there is they got it as against, but it's not that word. It's actually the word ava. So that means that if you desire not right, if it's not as going against me, if it is, it should be translated, if your desire is not to listen to me. If your desire is not to listen to me, that's the way it should be read or translated. I will increase your calamity sevenfold according to your sins. The sevenfold there makes it perfect. And this is a divine number that Yah uses. That's translated into me completely punishing you. Okay. Right. So I'm going to get that. You're going to get the 7 times. That's a divine understanding because your desire is to not to listen to me. That's a desire that you have. It's not you don't have a willingness to listen to me. You're not interested in accepting what I said. You won't capitulate. You won't capitulate. You won't give. You won't yield over to me. You will not give over to what I said. You will not give over to the Varim, which are the words. You will not capitulate. You will resist the words that I'm saying. You see? So there's a divine punishment for that. Do you understand? Because the very words that he says, when you listen to me, he's talking about the words of the Varim. Because every word that the Most High says is a davar. It's a davarim. Yes, Kel.
Yeah, Kika, I was wondering, I noticed that there's letters at the top of each one of these passages. Are we still connecting the letters to the verses that you have below them?
Yeah, you could do that because if you think about it, you know, the Ava right there. When I mention this, okay, for example, when I put this Aleph right here, it does mean first. Okay. When I think about the understanding, right, for Bina, I guess you found me out. Understanding, the first word that begins with understanding is the letter bet. Okay, right? And the divine wisdom, right? To see is to behold something greater than yourself, right? To with the man with his hands stretched up and looking in awe. Okay. And so the divine wisdom is that which is found in the sevenfold that can only be understood, that the Most High has given us divine wisdom to let us know, if you don't listen to me, if you don't have a willingness, if you're not Ava, right? You're going to have to be able to see what I'm going to do. He's not talking about the calamities there. You're never going to see them. You're going actually literally going to see them. You're absolutely right. So here in Hebrew, right here, if I was to write out the word for understanding, it would be bina, right? I'm just writing the letters right next to it. Bina, right here, bina, bina. That's how you spell understanding in Hebrew, right there. Okay. And how do you spell, the first of whatever in Hebrew? It'd be echad. It'd be echad. You see, that means first. It was a little my, you know, I guess that's my gift, I guess. Great question. Now, I want to show you something. So look at the letters at the top, Aleph, Bet, and Hey, right? And it told you first mentioned conceptual understanding, and then, of course, the divine wisdom. I rearranged the letters, and it's called the desire and love connection. Okay. The letters have been rearranged. They're not in the same order. I reversed the Bet and the Hey. Aleph is still in the same place. Okay. The word that you have right here in Hebrew, can someone tell me? How do you say love in Hebrew?
Ahab.
There you go. Dawid Ahav. This is how you say it. Ahav. 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 Okay. So Ahav is love. Okay. But I need to explain to you what love means, because in Greek it means four different things. In English, it means whatever you want it to mean. Hebrew is different. So there's a connection between Ava, which is desire, and Ahav. And how do you know it's connected? Because they're using the same letters. They're just arranged differently. Okay. In Hebrew, the letter Aleph not only doesn't mean only an ox, but in Hebrew grammar means I will. The I number right here, the I, right? The pronoun I, right? It is by yourself. It's first person, common, singular. I, first, Aleph, first, Echad. You understand? Number one, I, single, unity, right? And the idea behind this in grammar is I will, because anytime the Aleph is put in front of a word, it means I will. Okay. So if you got the word that says Shema, that means to listen. If I want to say I will listen, then I will put an Aleph in front of it called Eshma. See? Because I will is put on the front of it. Okay. Front means future. So I will. Okay. So love means I will what? Hey means to look and behold and to be inspired by what you see. Okay. And the next letter is the Bet, the family. So in Hebrew, to say that I love you means that I will look and behold and look and be inspired and be motivated towards your family and towards your household and towards your well-being. I will be looking towards your good. That means that I'm bringing peace to your house. If I see there's a need for food, I'm inspired to go get it and bring it so everyone in the house will be well. If I see there's a lack of structure and I'm the husband, and if I say that I love my wife and I love my family, then these are the things that I'm going to do in order to bring this to the house, the foundation, the security, the protection. Okay. I have to look towards it. I have to behold it as if I'm looking at something amazing, something that causes me to be in awe because of what Yah has done. You understand? So it's not just looking at the stars and the sun and the moon that's supposed to bring amazement. The amazement is found in the fact that you are able to look at the house. That's amazing. What's amazing is that you can behold the growth and the development of other human beings. What's amazing is that you have an opportunity to participate in the well-being of a soul that Yah has given you an opportunity to look after. You should be inspired, and you should be constantly looking at this, your family. So when it tells us that you and I should always love Yahweh, Ahavata, I love you, Yahweh. Oh, I love you, Yah. I love you. That you're saying something that you didn't even know that you were saying. You're saying, I will. Oh, praise be to Yahweh. These are the Davarim. These are the words that you're saying. That I will right there is a promise. Those are not empty words. Do you understand? So when you and I are talking and we're opening up our mouth and we're speaking to somebody and we say something to Yah that I love you, you're saying, I will do what you told me to do. I will look and behold at what you have done in the heavens. I will look after the family, your children, your wives, your husbands. I said something to my wife, I'll share with you all. I understand that when I look at her, I don't see just a wife or a woman. I see a soul. I see someone that I'm responsible for looking after. I see someone that I need to be inspired. I see someone that I'm concerned that she's part of Yahweh's family. She's part of his household. She's a daughter to him. And because of this, I need to be concerned with her well-being. And if I'm concerned with that and I'm loving her, then that means I'll never do anything to hurt her or betray her. Why? Because I said I will. When I look at my daughters, I'm saying I will. When I look at my friends, when I look at you, I'm saying I will. I'm going to look to do what's good for your family and your well-being. I'm looking to do what's good for your household. That's the connection between desire and love. They're connected. Do you understand? So it's not this idea that we've been given by the Western mindset. It also told us in the words that were mentioned to us this week that we did a lot of complaining. And you complain with your words. And this is what we said. It is because Yahweh hated us that he has brought us out of the land of Egypt, only to hand us over to the Emry to destroy us. When they said these words, they did not go unnoticed. Remember, it's only 2 verses that I'm mentioning out of the whole Torah portion, which is our 3. These are the words. The second one is, you refuse to go up, right? You would not go up, which you didn't have a desire. And here it's just the opposite, saying, hey, this is the second verse number 27. And in your tents you complained. You weren't willing, and you wouldn't go up. And also now, not only you wouldn't go up, you would complain. And then you said some stuff. You said some hadavarim. You said some words. And you thought that those words were unheard. You thought those words were just words to be said, that Yah hates us. He hated us. And this is the reason why he's brought us out. Just like people today. Yah hates us. He put us into exile. He hates us. He took away everything away from us. He hates us. He destroyed our family structure. He hates us. That's the reason why he didn't take us out of Egypt. He's actually brought us back into Egypt, like he said, because he hates us. He hates us because he's disciplining us. He hates us because he's correcting us. He hates us. And so therefore, he's put us into the hands of these people because he hates us. Yah has put us into the people's hands in order to deliver us, in order for us to have victory, in order to understand where your strength comes from. Okay? So let's deal with this idea of Yah hating you and you complaining and thinking that you could say some Davarim to him and nothing is ever going to be, remembered. No. Again, we're still in the same vein because now we're talking about word family connections. Okay. There's two words that were used in verse 26 and 27. Okay. The first one, it was Tamaru. I read that to you earlier when I said that you weren't willing to go up, but you rebelled against me. That's that first word, Tamaru, right there. The next word underneath there again is Tamaru. It sounds exactly the same. One is Wa Tamaru. The next one is Ro Wa Tomaru. Ta Toma. Wa Tomaru. Now, what is the connection, Akika? Well, here's the connection. It's a word family. Okay. Just like the Ava and the Ahav are connected, all I did was reverse the letters, right? To show you that love and desire is connected together, right? Here it is. This has a Wa, this has a Wa. This has a Tav, this has a Tav. This has a Mem, this has a Mem. This has a Resh, this has a Resh. This has a U, this has a U. The only difference is this one is here and it's silent, okay? It's an Aleph, okay? So let's get the understanding of the family word or the word family connections, okay? The connection is this. This right here is top one. So I'm talking about this word right here is in verse number 26. This right here is in verse number 27. It's the second verse that was right after it. So when I was reading Hebrew, I was like, wait a minute, they're connected. They sound exactly the same. Watamaru, Watomaru. Very, very similar. Versus an A versus an O sound. So what is it? So after breaking the word down, I said, they're connected. Well, as you can see, and means tent peg, right? They have that in common. The next one is you, which is this letter right here. You, okay? And it's talking plural because the U sound on the end, the U right there. That's you. And you means a mark or a sign. That's what that letter Tav means. This letter right here. This letter right here means a sign or a mark. It means to go to your destination. Just like in Hebrew, that's the last letter of the Hebrew language. The first one is the Aleph. And then it gives you the Bet, and then the Gimel, and the Dalet, and goes all the way down to 22 letters. And at the last letter is the Tav. This letter, that's the last one. This right here is an ox. And so what is the ox doing? The ox is traveling. Where's the ox traveling? The ox is traveling to its destination, to its mark. This right here in Hebrew is two sticks. They're crossed in order to make a mark. That's a sign to let you know where you're going. So the Aleph versus the Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last letter, okay? Okay, you put those two letters together, Aleph and the Tav, it means direction. It means an arrow. It means pointing in a direction. That's what it means. That's what it's used for. To point your arrow pointing to something is called an et. An E-T, et. Grammatical tool. You'll see this all through the Hebrew. So whatever the verb is going to point you to who's doing it. So the verb is the V right here, and then it points you directly to the noun. So whoever's doing the action, which is the verb right here, this et right here will point you to who's doing the action. Or where's that action going to? Is it, you're doing it, so where's it going? Okay. So those are the concepts. So what they've done is they've taken agricultural concepts like the ox, the two sticks, and they've made them into grammatical tools to try to help you understand. You'll understand it grammatically, but you will not understand it agriculturally. My job is to show you agriculturally so you can understand what is really being said. Okay. So when we're talking about this idea of you are the sign. You're the sign. You're where everything is going. The Most High is concerned with you. You are the mark. You are the destination. You're the one who's supposed to receive the information. You're the final destination. Do you understand? So, and you talk about mar, which was in this root tamaru, okay? This word right here, this mr right here, this mar right here is the word for bitter, okay? Okay? It's bitter. And what it means is waterhead, okay? The M is the water. That's why it looks like that in Hebrew, water, a wave of water. The resh right here is the head of a man, okay? The head of a man. It means the head waters or the head of waters. What's the head of the waters? Well, when you have a stream, it begins somewhere and the waters are flowing, right? The waters are flowing. But then if something gets stuck and the branches fall into the water and it impedes the water from flowing, the living water from flowing because the branches and the shrubs and the dead animals or whatever it is in the river or whatever it is, stuff gets all in the water, right? And I should put some color in there, right? The waters are going, they're flowing. But once you get that stuff that's in the middle of something obstructing it, the water just trickles over. It's not flowing as much. It's kind of seeping out a little bit, just a little bit at a time. It's no constant flow. It's not flowing. So there's an impingement going on. So what the Most High is telling us is that when we rebel against Him, we're slowing down the progress and we're slowing down the flow. That's what we're doing. We're slowing down the flow of things, the flow of blessing, the flow of water, the flow of life, because the water represents life. Okay, so we're slowing the flow. You know, when we're bitter, it can be shown in your body. When blood flow is not flowing properly, you're slowing down the flow because of impediments, which could be fats from the meats and the pork and all this other stuff that you're eating. The sugars, all this kind of stuff is getting in your bloodstream. Your flow is your water. Okay. So if you have impediments that are inside of your river, then once it stops right here, it's going to start stinking. Why? Because the fish are not going past it anymore. They're dying right there. They're getting stuck. So that would cause the water to stink. Once the water begins to stink, it changes colors. Instead of it being nice and blue and fresh, it begins to get a brownish, greenish, mildewish color. You understand? Because of everything that's in it. It's pollution. Okay. So it's deeper than a abstract term. And you just saying you're rebelling against me. Okay. So in this connection, when he says that Watamaru, he said that you guys have rebelled against me. Remember that was in our first verse? Remember that I asked you to go up and you rebelled against me. This is what he's saying, that you were not flowing. You would not follow the flow. There's an impediment. There's something inside of you that's stopping you from waters flowing. There's something inside of you that's stopping. And guess what that is? Guess what it is? Somebody tell me what we've been reading and been studying for the last hour and a half. What is it that's stopping the waters from flowing? What is it that's causing this stench? What
We
is
have
what?
our egos, our attitudes.
Egos and attitudes to stop us from being Ava, stopping us from being willing, stopping us from wanting to follow, stopping us from doing the work, stopping us from capitulating. Because if you think about it, this water, this stagnation right here, the water becomes stagnant. It doesn't flow. It literally goes flat. What happens here is that if everything gets here, is stopping, right? So if it's stopping, it's resisting. There's some resistance that's put there. That means there's some unwillingness. There's a low ava there. You understand? So the flow is determined by what's in the water, what's flowing. So what's been flowing through our veins, okay, our mindset is these bitter waters. We don't want to give in to Yah. And so this is the reason why he says that, and you read in your Haftarah that your feasts are your stench in my nostrils. It's a stench. It stinks. What stinks? Because you're not doing what I asked you to do. You don't have a willingness. It's a stench. Your life is a stench to me. You stink to me. You make me want to vomit. Why? Because of your rebellion. You're rebelling against me. You're not allowing the waters to flow. You got dead animals right here. You got, people defecating, urinating. You got old stuff. You got bacteria. Nothing's flowing. You're stopping the flow. And how do you do this? It's by your unwillingness. How do you do this? By you are saying what you're not going to do with Yah. That's the other part underneath here. Wa tomaru. That right there is not a mar in there. Mar is in there, right? But check this out. The word that should be focused on, there's a Hebrew word within that word that tells you that it's you that is doing this. You're speaking. That word amar right there means said with your words within you. Our rebellion is within us, and it's expressed through what we have said. And what we have said is what we will do. I'm not going up. Your actions, if you decide not to do what he says, you're telling Yah something. You don't have to come out verbally and say, hey, we're not going to keep the Sabbath. You're talking to Yah when you're not keeping the Sabbath. You're sending a message to Yah when he says that you shouldn't eat this and you turn around and eat it anyway. You're sending a message to Yah when someone tells you to do something and you refuse to do it. And you don't capitulate to the authority that has been given to that individual. When men do not capitulate to Yahweh and cease to resist his words. It was our leaders, it was our kings, it was our prophets that caused us to be where we are today. It was the men. It was the men. You understand? So the rebellion is what we say, and what we say is the words within us. And that's the connection between those two verses. If you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land. This is found in your Haftarah. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be eaten by the sword, for the mouth of Yahweh is spoken. In context, he's giving them a warning before he has to send them into exile. The word here, willing, again, goes back to the idea of Ava. The idea of obedience has to go back to the covenant. Shema. Shemoah, listening, obeying. If you do this, you'll be able to eat the good of the land. These are the words. This is the Varim that Yahweh has spoken. This word spoken is Varim. From out of the mouth of Yahweh. Out of the P of Yahweh. That has spoken these words, the Varim. When Yah spoke to us, he's speaking to us through a prophet in this instance. He's telling us, you can refuse and rebel against me. That means if you will not let the waters flow, so you could get an understanding, you should have an understanding right now. If you're not going to let the waters flow, and you're going to be reluctant and resistant to doing what I said, you're going to be eaten by the sword. That's what's going to happen. The sword here is not literally talking just about the sword. He's talking about death, because that's what brings death, is the sword. Yah has a sword. And if Yah has spoken that the sword is going to get you, he tells us in Leviticus chapter number 26, I'm going to send the sword after you to avenge the covenant. You see? The Navi, which is the prophet, had made a proclamation. In the book of Isaiah, Yashayahu, chapter number 1, Yah calls witnesses. Okay? Just like a timeline. As you can see, the sun, the moon, and the stars just go on and even into the slide. There's no end because they're the faithful witnesses. He calls the witnesses in Isaiah, he calls them as witnesses about when he's about to give Varim, when he's about to speak. He calls, these are his witnesses. Okay? He tells us, he speaks these words, these Davarim, about the conditions of his people and said, you guys are sick. The whole head is sick. Chapter number 1. All of you, the head all the way to the tail. The head meaning the leaders. The body is the people. The tail is the lowest of the lowest. The whole entire body is sick, from the head all the way down. You guys are sick. Okay? And that sickness is only going to a certain point. It stops right here. Okay? Moon and sun, moon and stars, and they're not stopping. The rebellion, the complaints. Okay, so here, the Most High makes a complaint. His complaint is about the rebellion of the people of Israel. Okay, and that rebellion has been going on, right, from the time that he met them in Egypt. The sickness of Israel happened. Sickness wasn't immediate. Sickness happens over time. And what's causing this sickness? The rebellion. Because the waters are not fresh. You understand? So they have a sickness. The nation is sick. But it began with rebellion. Okay? He gives a command and tells them, meaning us, what to do in order to get out of the sickness. To get out of this sickness, you and I have to learn, seek, and do. Learn what? Righteousness. Seek what? Judgment. Do what? What I command. And as you can notice, there is no end to it. It goes on, just like the sun, moon, and the stars. That's always going to be part of it. The command of Yah is going forever. The complaints that Yah has against us is temporary. It's only going to go to a certain point. It's going to end right here, along with the sickness. When the rebelliousness ends, the sickness ends. The exile was not immediate when they rebelled. The Most High was merciful and gracious. He's been telling us to learn and seek him from the beginning. You see? So he waited some time, and at this time right here, then exile began out of the land. The judgment is exile. The exile is going to end right here, right along with the rebellion and the sickness. So exile, sickness, and rebellion all end at the same time. All in at the same time. All of it. It's all going to end at the same time. Okay? Learning and everything is going to continue. But during all of this, okay, from the time that he met us right here, he's been saying the same thing over and over again. I got it in Hebrew. It's called lacuna. I want you to write it down. Lacuna. Laku. Okay, lacuna. Lacuna wa nukaka. Woo. Nukaka. Wa nukaka. Wa nukaka. Okay? So, lacuna wa nukaka. Lacuna wa nukaka. What is he telling us? I'm going to tell you what he's telling us. Yah has been pleading with us. He's been arguing with us. And he's been arguing with us from the same time that he brought us out of the land of Egypt when we've been rebelling. He's been teaching us. He's been asking us to learn. He's been asking us to seek to do what's well. We haven't done that, so we went sick. And then our sickness ended up leading us into exile. And while we're in our exile, we're still sick at the same time. The la nakukaka is going to end when the exile ends. So what does it mean, Akika? Well, the laku right here is la ku. Laku. Well, you see the word lock in there. So the Most High is asking us to do something. He's asking us to walk with him. Walk with him as he makes these arguments with us and his complaints. And he brings to, and he says, I testify against you. I want you to walk with me when I talk to you. And I want us to reason together. I want to walk with you. And I want to have an argument. I want to show you why I put you in exile. I want to tell you about your rebellion. I want to let you know why you're sick. I want you to do that. But you have to decide that you're going to walk with me. That right there is come with me now. La kuna. Please. That na right there is please. Please walk with me. All of you, walk with me. And I will make my argument with you. You're not going to walk with me because I gave you some so-called man that's supposed to take your sins away. You're going to walk with me so I can explain to you, la kuna, what it is that my complaint is, my argument. Let me reason with you. How can two walk together unless they be in agreement? How? How do you and I think that we can walk with the Most High and never hear him have an argument against what we're doing? Why do you think that you and I should be able to walk with Yah when we're in constant rebellion and the water is stinking, our life is smelling and it's making us sick and he don't supposed to say nothing? If Christianity worked for us, then why are you still sick? If Christianity worked, then why are we still in rebellion against Yah as a people? Those people are not telling you that he's asking us to learn, seek, and do what he said. They don't even acknowledge that they're in exile. Because why? Alakuna. Wanukaka. Lakuna. Let's lakuna with Yahweh. Our Elohim is coming. This is in your Tehillim. This is in your Psalmist. Our Elohim is coming. I'll say it again. He's coming. And he's not staying silent. With a fire devouring ahead of him and a great storm raging around him, he calls to the heavens above and to the earth in order to judge his people. Gather to me, my faithful, those who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Those are the Varim of Yahweh. Listen and listen carefully. He's calling to the heavens and to the earth above. Heavens above and to earth beneath. Why? In order to judge his people. Why is he calling to them? He's calling to them because they are the what? Somebody tell me. Who are they and what are they doing? Here's your clue. Who are they?
Witnesses?
They are the witnesses. They're the ones who the Most High, every time he has a problem with us, he declares what he's going to do to them. So he's calling on the sun and the moon and the stars in order for them to witness the judgment of his people. He's coming to judge, and he's not staying silent. That means that the Varim is going to be spoken. He's taking action. Gather to me, my faithful. Not a religious term. Gather to me those who are kind. In Hebrew, they're called chassid. Okay? The ones who are dealing in kesed. Okay? The kesed is to gather to me the ones who are merciful. The ones who have gathered mercy is the ones who've gathered mercy. Do you not remember what he said, the Varim that he said? What Varim? What's Varim, Makika? The words. What Davarim did he say? He said, I'm going to show mercy, which is kesed, to la alafim the la ohavai the ula shomrei the mitzvotai, meaning I'm showing and making mercy for those, to the thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. The receivers of kesed are the kasid. Those are the ones who made with me a covenant. And the covenant is the 10 words in which the Most High is referring to. And he made it by a sacrifice. Meaning you're locked into the agreement, the obligation that you made. Davarim, which you and I are going to get into, if Yahweh says the same, next week. Going to continue the Davarim, the Eseret HaDavarim. There are 3 things that he wants from you and I. He wants the Shema, which is the Davarim, and the Zevak, the Todah, and the Karein Ani Zara. You say, Akika, what is all this? It's right there. The Shema means I need you to listen. That is a command. And he's not talking to the nations. He's talking to my people. I'm speaking. Davarim, Yisrael, I'm testifying against you. I, Elohim, your Elohim. Remember, in context, he's saying, I need you to listen to my words, my Davarim. The Davarim that Yah is speaking is testifying against us because you're his people. Testify means court, means witness. If he's witness against us, this is the reason why he's calling the sun, the moon, and the stars, so they could be there on the day of judgment. Let the heavens roar and shake when Yah comes back. And the trees are going to move back and forth. And the mountains are going to fall because of Yahweh, because he's coming to judge his people. These are not Akika's words. These are the words of the living Elohim. Listen, my people. He's not talking in a passive voice. He's talking in a PL, meaning a forceful voice. I'm testifying against you. I, Elohim, your Elohim. What are you talking about? How are you our Elohim? Ani Yahweh Eloheka asher hotzitika me'aretz Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Come to me, those who are merciful, the ones who's receiving mercy because you made a covenant with me. Zevak Torah. Zevak is to offer. What is Yahweh asking for? Is he asking for us to make offerings that we have no lambs, no bulls, no goats, no minka, no flour, no olive oil, no incense? He said, all the animals belong to me. If I was hungry, I wouldn't tell you. All the forest creatures are mine. Everything on 1,000 hills is his. What is he asking for? Sevak Torah. Offer thanksgiving, people. His people. Offer thanksgiving to Yahweh. Torah, right there. Offer that to Yah. You talking about Thanksgiving Day where we get the turkey? No. What he's talking about here when he says Todah, that comes from the word of Yada. The Todah means that is of thanksgiving, acknowledgement that Yah has brought something to your attention that you have made known to Yah. What he has done. What can we give Yah thanks for? First of all, we can thank Yah for our lives. We can thank Yah for his mercy. You can thank him for his compassion. You can thank him that he's the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. You can thank him for the land that he gave to us. You can thank him for the wilderness. You can thank him. Thank him. Thank him for the encounters that we had with Moab and Esau and Ammon. Thank him for the battle of Og and Sikon. Thank him for destroying all of our enemies. What vow are you supposed to pay to the Most High? The vow that you promised. The Varim that you spoke at Mount Sinai, people. Everything he said we'll do. 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 We said it 4 times. You're going to have to pay that vow. What is the kara'eni of the zerah? Oh, Yah says because of this day of judgment that is coming upon the face of the earth, what's going to get you prepared for that day is when you have to call on him when you're in trouble. You're going to get in trouble, Israel. There is going to be a trouble that's going to have you call on Yahweh, on me. Who? Your Elohim. Not Christ of the New Testament. You're not going to call on Paul. You're not going to call on Peter. You're not going to call on nobody. You better have the right name in your mouth. You better have the right Varim. You better have the correct name. You better understand what it means. Because you need to call on me. Oh, praise be to Yahweh. And I will deliver you. What? Yeah. And you will honor me. Who? Yahweh. You'll bring kavod to me. Because that's when the judgment's coming. So when Yah's telling us to listen to him, he's telling us that you're going to have to call upon me. You are. You're going to do the ka-re-ani. You're going to call on me. Give your zevaka todah to Yahweh. You shema the devarim. You listen to the words, his people. But to the wicked, Elohim says, not to the Kasid, not to the ones, these are the Rasha, these are the ones who decided to go on their path and do whatever they want to do. These are the ones who don't have their lo ova, okay? They're the lo, never, absolutely, ever doing what Yahweh has said. They're the lo ava. That's who they are. They're the lo ava. No desire, no capitulation, no giving, no awareness, nothing. No digging, no planting, no preparation, no nothing. What right do you have to proclaim my decrees and take my covenant on your lips when you so hate to receive correction and fling my words, his Varim, behind you? So what does this all have to do with? It has to do with this covenant, which the decrees are part of it. The correction is what the covenant does. The decrees help us, guide us to be corrected. The covenants correct you. What covenant, Akika? What are you talking about? I'm talking about Exodus chapter number 20. I'm talking about Varim, the words of Varim chapter number 5, which we're going to talk about next week in our Torah portion. I'm going to have to break it down. So he's asking the wicked, the Rashaim, not the Kasedim, the Rashaim. What right are you doing? So remember, he's coming to judge his people. So among his people are wicked people, wicked men and women that don't want to, they say it, they take it on their lips. They quote it. They know it. They cite it. They proclaim it. They talk about the decrees. They talk about what the Levites supposed to have. They talk about what, Aharon is supposed to do. They talk about the tribes of Israel. They talk about the set apart Moedims, the set apart times. They talk about the Shabbats, the new moon, and the festivals. They talk about all this. And they hate to receive correction. And what are the things that they're doing? What is it that these wicked people do? Yah gives us 3 areas that the wicked have violated of the 10 words. In the Psalmist and Tehillim, Psalms, chapter number 50, the Most High describes 3 areas that are part of the 10 words, which is the covenant, which is known as the Aseret HaDavarim. That's what it's called. That's what the 10 words are called. The Aseret, which meaning 10, Davarim, which are the Hadavarim, the words. Okay. So out of the 10, the Aseret, there's 3 of them that the Most High says that they're doing. He says, you throw in your lot with adulterers. What Aseret is that? Well, that right there is the 7th Aseret. Okay. This is the 8th Aseret. This is the 9th Aseret HaDavarim. So the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of the words of the HaDavarim, the statements of the covenant, they violate. You throw your lot in with adulterers. So they violated number 7, the 7th one of the Davarim, of the Aseret HaDavarim. Number 8, when you see a thief, you join up with them. Number 9, you give your mouth free rein for evil, and you harness your tongue to deceit. And he tells you what that deceit is. You sit and you speak against your kinsmen, your family members. You slander your own mother's son. Who's doing this? It could be your family members that are talking about that you're crazy because you keep the Sabbath. He's a weirdo because he does the Sabbath day, or he doesn't eat pork, or he doesn't even touch it, or she doesn't do this either. You're the weirdo, right? You're the crazy one. You're the one who left your rocker. You went off on the deep end. You understand? Talks about when you see a thief, you join up with him. You know that the people that you are hanging around with, they're involved in this, and you're still their friend. You're still their friend. You're still their friend. You're still hanging out with adulterers. You know that she has a husband. And when you guys go out, she's telling you about some other man. And you don't say anything. You sit there and you have drinks. And you talk about, yeah, well, he brought this on himself. No, she's an adulterer. Do you understand? This idea of your mouth free rein for evil. You're doing what you want to do. You're saying what you want to say. This is what you're bent on. This is not Yah's desire. This is not his Ava. And then it says you sit. This tells us about Psalms. It talked about blessed is the one who doesn't sit in the seat of the scornful. You're sitting with these people. You're walking with these people. You're entertaining these people. Do you understand? That's a problem. This is what Yah says. When you do such things, should I stay silent? That's the question. When you're sitting at the table with this person, you think that Yah's going to stay silent? This is the reason why he's coming. because they violated the Torah. They violated the covenant. They violated the Eseret Hadavarim. And you and I don't believe that Yah's going to judge for this. And he is. He said, you may have thought that I was like you. This idea of a thought right here is like a likeness. You thought that me and you are human. You thought I was like you. You think that I think like you. You think that I'm going to let it go. You think I'm going to stay silent like you did. You know how you when you sit at the table with the thief and you're hanging out with the adulterer or the adulteress, you're staying silent. And you thought I'm going to stay silent. You kept your mouth shut. You think I'm going to keep my mouth shut? You think that we're alike? Huh? You thought I was just like you. But guess what Yah says? I'm going to rebuke you. I'm going to indict you. Who, you wicked people? And how is it going to be? It's going to be to your face. Yeah, it's 50. Hallelujah. Psalms 50. Did I say 51? It's 50. 50. Psalms 50. If I said 51, forgive me. It's 50. Oh, yeah, look, it's on the bottom. 51. Look at me. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone. Thank you, Moria. I'm gone. I'm having 51 on my mind. I'm sorry, you guys. It's right there on the bottom. It's 50. I put 51. I'm tripping. So it's in Psalms 50, everyone, not 51. Thank you, Moria, for that correction. This is our study for next week. It's our schedule. I'm here to tell you that we're going to get judged because of the covenant. That's the most important part of our journey, is the covenant. That's right there in Psalms 50. That's what he mentions in Psalms 50. And that's what we're going to have to deal with. So it is so appropriate because next week, if y'all's willing, we're going to go into more detail about the Eseret Hadavarim. We're going to go in, we're going to dig deep into the covenant. We're going to dig deep, 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 deep. So you and I won't miss out. And so you and I won't get judged. You understand? So you and I will be considered the ones who receive mercy because we kept his commands and we didn't forget about his covenant. You understand? So this is what we've done. He said, you've broken my covenant. And now you and I are researching, we're digging, we're trying to plant, we're trying to do some things. We're looking for things, right? This is what we want to do. So we're going to have to go over and we're going to have to dig into the covenant. Because if you're not in the covenant, then you and I are going to be the ones that he's not going to stay silent on. You and I will be indicted. And the indictment is going to happen for us when he comes. A lot of people are sleeping on this. They're thinking he's not going to come. And again, when he says, you think I should stay silent, the silence here is he's saying, you think I'm going to be quiet. You're thinking I'm not going to say any Davarim. Okay. The Davarim that Yah is going to do and what he's going to say, remember, Davarim can be through one's action. It's not just speaking. Remember, we said you rebelled against me. Well, the rebellion happened based on what you said, and your inaction was your rebellion as well. Okay. So with him, he's telling us that I'm coming and I'm not going to stay silent. I'm going to take action on you. Okay. And then what he's going to do is he's going to speak. And he's going to speak. Somebody tell me, when he comes back and he judges, what is he going to speak to kill everyone? What words is he going to speak to kill everybody? I'll give you a clue. What did our father say when he spoke? What did they say in the wilderness when Yah began to speak?
They do everything, whatever you said they was gonna do,
Yeah,
and you didn't follow through. Well, it's a penalty for that.
yeah, but what words did they say to Moses? Because they were afraid that they were going to die. What did they
Uh, the exact words. I'm trying to think.
Told
say?
Moses to go up there and talk to them because they were afraid they would die.
Yes, thank you, Q. So they said, if we hear any more of what he says, we're going to die. And the clue is the question was asked, who of all humanities ever heard the words of the living Elohim and remained alive? So when he comes back, he's going to speak the words of the covenant, and then they're going to die. There won't be any mediator. There won't be anybody standing in the gap. That's why you need to learn these words, and you need to accept them, and you need to achieve them. You need to bring about the desire. You need to bring about that correction in your life through the covenant. If you don't know the words of the covenant, you're dead. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because those are the words that are going to be spoken. Akika, can you prove it? Yes, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you next week. I'm going to show you that if you do not know these words and you do not acquiesce and you do not accept them and you do not affirm them, you're going to die. You, your children, your family, your friends, everyone is going to die. Who doesn't accept and who doesn't guard these words are going to die. That's what's going to happen. Because he's going to use those very words that were spoken at Mount Sinai to be able to speak. And then whoever doesn't listen, you're going to die. You've been warned. That's why this is an emergency message. Because if you don't get it and you don't really see it, then you're going to be put to death. Because he's not going to stay silent. Okay? He's not going to stay silent. There is no silence here. Okay? Any questions before we get started and before I end the class for this segment on our YouTube? Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, the words Dabarins that Yahweh will speak.
Yes.
They're gonna be spoken in the tongue that we'll understand, or that we study, that we striving to understand. And in other words, the Hebrew.
Yeah, it's going to be, yeah, it is. It's going to be in the words that we're going to understand. Like, for
Yeah.
example, I know when he speaks to us, we'll understand it. Yah knows us. He's made us, right? So whatever it is that he speaks to us, we're going to know. Remember,
Okay.
we're going to know. But the bottom line is this. When he speaks, we need to listen, right? So
Okay.
that's what's going to happen. Okay. And let me close out, everyone. I want to make sure that our listeners know that I don't want to just cut you off on the screen. Our class today has ended for YouTube, and I want you, those who are listening live by YouTube, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. Everyone who's here live on Zoom, I ask for you to stay for just a moment. I want to let you guys know on YouTube that, this is what we do every Shabbat, and we thank you for your attendance today.